Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello and welcome to Business Connections Live, the programme for entrepreneurs, SMEs and also business owners. Now, today's show we're going to be talking about converting conversations to customers. Interesting topic, isn't it? Joining me in the studio today is Nikki Creel, social media consultant, trainer and author. Nikki's been with us on the program before in the past. We've been talking about Twitter and social media in general. But a new book has just come out. It's a fascinating read, actually. And let's say hello to Nikki, shall we? Nikki, lovely to see you.
Well, thank you for inviting me again.
Yeah, we just can't keep you away, can we? Nikki, another book.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about social media in general, first of all.
Yeah.
If you know nothing about social media, what's that all about then?
I think it's very unlikely that somebody in this day and age would not have heard of social media now. But it's amazing how many small businesses still haven't adopted it properly, or they're doing social media because somebody says they have to, so they set up an account. Faff around with it, to be honest.
Faff around?
Faff around.
Right.
And it's not doing any business, anything for their business, and that's not very helpful. So
I take it a lot of people come to you and they go, tried that, didn't work for me, can't be bothered with it anymore.
I've sometimes had somebody say, oh, I tried Twitter for 2 weeks and it doesn't work, which is not really trying it. Social media is more of a long haul game, and it's not just marketing. It will help your sales, it can help customer service, it will help you to find out more about your customers. There's so much more that it does than just broadcasting your message.
Do you think a lot of people see it as a panacea to all the problems that they're going to have in their business, and that is their marketing campaign, that is their sales channel, and they expect it because of the hype around social media, they expect that to actually happen?
There's no substitute for good old-fashioned marketing. You need to know your customers, you need to know your positioning, and you need to know why people want to buy your brand or product. And that doesn't change, and people haven't changed. So social media, you need to have a good understanding of who your customers are, where they're likely to be, and how they want to talk to you. But social media can help with a lot of things, especially for small businesses. It's the one area that you can actually compete with bigger businesses if you have a little bit of savvy about you.
Now, the thing about it is as well that you're somebody that actually, I always go on about the walk and the talk. Yeah. So you do the talk and a lot of it, but you also do a lot of the walking as well, don't you? Because you practice what you preach. Yeah. You didn't go, look, there's an opportunity, I'll be a social media expert. What's an expert? What's somebody that has been, and a spurt is water under pressure, isn't it, or something? Yeah. So anyway, but you're not one of those. But the point about it is that you actually, you were in business and you started to use social media, didn't you? You were doing NLP at the time.
Yes, I was an NLP coach, and it was to market my business that I actually started using Twitter and Facebook originally. And then people kept on asking me how I was getting the results, because I had somebody from Canada contacting me to say, could he interview me for his podcast? And all those type of things kept on happening to me, and people kept on saying, how are you doing that? And it was because I couldn't find anybody I could rely on and trust for training, and there was nobody at that stage. This is way back in 2010.
When I was but a boy.
Well, yeah, so I ended up doing my first, it was a Twitter training, and from then people asked me to train them how to use LinkedIn, Facebook, and it's gone on from there. Well,
we're going to talk about the book, and we're going to talk about LinkedIn, because I know the two are quite heavily related, but not necessarily together in one thing. When it comes to doing social media, some people will have ginormous success at it, and some people will fail miserably. Yeah. And from the outside looking in, you may feel that both are putting the same amount of effort in. The skill that you obviously have, you're actually a good writer. Do you think that matters?
It helps.
The linguistics.
I think you need to, whatever you do, you need to focus on your customer, and you need to think as they would think rather than broadcasting how you want. So if I had to give one tip right now, I'd say the most important thing you can do is have the word you used as many times as possible. Because when you have a sentence with the word you in it, it means you're actually thinking about the person who's reading your post.
Go on, give us an example then.
So for example, if I were to say, let's say I could have said today, and I haven't tweeted about being here yet.
Right.
So if I could say something like, I'm going to Business Connections Live, you know.
Well remembered.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's just about I. But to change it into a you thing, you have to think about what would make it interesting for. If
you want to find out about how to integrate social media into your business, then I'm going to Business Connections Live. So very different.
Or you could say, how have you? Or you could say, this is what I'm up to today. What are you doing? Which is another.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, which then gets them to talk to you, and they can boast about what they're doing, because people will always find something intriguing that they're doing in those cases.
They're trying to put you down, that's what they're trying to do. All right, so we've got the linguistics right then. The other thing that you always advocate is that it is a conversation. So it is, so the clue is in the name, social media. Because how many followers do you have on your Twitter platform?
I've got 21,000, I think, or something like that.
How do you interact with 21,000? How do you have a social conversation? Surely that is more than can fit in Wembley Stadium.
The thing is that not all of those people are paying attention to what I'm saying, and you can't really have a conversation with mass of people. So it's actually, so you might do some things, and I do some things which are broadcast, you know, like to sort of announce to people. But I do spend quite a lot of time having one-to-one interactions on Twitter and wherever I am. So interacting with people who are either interacting with me, or if I see they're doing something interesting, and that's the conversation. It's not when I put a post out saying, this is what I'm up to. It's when you actually have a one-to-one conversation with a person, or sometimes a few people get involved in the same conversation.
Realistically,
so it's real
then.
Conversation.
So realistically, then, of your 20,000 followers, 50% of which are Russian, probably. I'm only pulling a leg, but of your 20,000 followers, how many do you directly correspond with?
I'm not too sure of that, because I haven't looked at that. I suppose I interact with a lot of people, and
so I'm just wondering, is it because of that turns it from being a narrowcast medium, and people then perceive it as a broadcast? You know, you have 20,000 people, so you're not narrowcasting anymore, you are broadcasting.
Well, the thing is that if you're having a conversation on Twitter, it's a public forum, so anybody can watch the conversation. And I've had conversations with people that somebody later has DM'd me or direct messaged me on Twitter to say that they agreed with me or
For those people who don't know, DM is direct message, yes? So that's a bit like a text straight to you, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's like a text straight to you.
Yes, it's a direct message to you via Twitter. So quite often people will interact with me privately, even though they've seen something in the public domain. So if you have conversations, but other people can watch how you interact, and it gives people a flavour of who you are when they can see how you respond to people.
Is it last year's platform? What, Twitter? Twitter, yeah.
I think there's so much business that can be had, and it's got great opportunities. Still, it doesn't matter what's happening with the bigger platform on Twitter, but you've got such a large group of people. Nobody can say 300 million active users plus is not a sizable audience. And how many businesses, how many people do you really need to talk to actually have a successful business?
What's the most successful thing that's come out of Twitter for you?
I suppose I've built up so many relationships with people on Twitter, and quite often then it will move on to something like LinkedIn or Facebook.
Don't worry, I'm not forgetting about the book. We will be talking about the book. But
so you know, sort of like it's amazing how many people contact me, and they won't have talked to me at all on Twitter, and they'll ring me up and say, I've been watching you for a while on Twitter, or they've read my blogs, which is probably coming through Twitter links. So a lot of my business has come through Twitter. You can't always necessarily say, I've had a tweet, that tweet led to business. It's built up relationships over a period of time.
You and others, social media experts in the past, have sort of said that is it part of a collective of different things? You mentioned it there, your blog. So you can't do successful tweeting if there's nowhere to drive them to. So you've got to have a blog, at least have a website somewhere for them to go. Is it part of a campaign? I was going to say,
you don't look at anything in isolation. If you don't have a website, you could actually use your LinkedIn profile as your website. And you can now publish directly onto LinkedIn. So if you don't have a website, I'm just thinking that not everybody has a website. Something like 30 to 40% of small businesses in this country do not have a website.
Are they mad?
Yeah. Well, they don't. And quite often I think with consultants, they haven't got around to doing it, or they got busy with other things. So if you don't have a website, you can actually use LinkedIn as your professional site to drive people to.
We've moved smoothly there, as if seamlessly nearly as well. We've moved on to LinkedIn. The reason we started the whole conversation was that Nikki has just released a new book called Converting Conversations to Customers. This is the brand new book. It's a fascinating read. I was talking to Nikki before we started the programme, and she said, having done the Twitter book, the kind of the momentum behind it to actually then write a book about a different platform, in this particular case being LinkedIn, but then decided actually it's not just about LinkedIn, it is still about using social media to convert those conversations into customers, and it's right across the board. We're going to talk more about that in just a few moments' time, find out more about the book, what's in the book, and potentially how that will actually help your business. My guest today, Nikki Creel, on this edition of Business Connections Live. Well, it's great, as always, to have you with us on a Monday, and one of my favourite guests in the whole world with me today. Just makes me feel nice and comfortable. We've known each other for what is this? Is this time number?
I can't remember if it's 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
I've lost count.
It's becoming a habit, nearly.
I'm worried that if I tell you, you won't invite me back again.
No, because I think the thing is that it's always nice to have people back, that we know, and then we build this relationship, and every time you come in, there's always something new. In fact, talking about guests that come in on a regular basis, like boomerangs, I suppose, you throw them away and they keep coming back to you. What do you call a boomerang, by the way, that doesn't come back?
I have a horrible feeling you're about to tell me.
Stick. Boom. I'm here all week. Okay, let's...
It's not your humour that I keep on coming back for.
Talking about guests that keep coming back, Jim McLaughlin, he joined us on the programme. Last week we had a cracking show from him. Jim is Managing Director of Axial, something that's been in the news, and we've also did programmes on, of course, Brexit going on in the background. There's a lot of things that we need to be aware of when it comes to Brexit, and last week's show was a real insight into an area that's been affected by Brexit, of course, which is the General Data Protection Regulation, which came into force or is going to come into force in 2018. An absolutely fascinating show. We often get this quoted as, oh yes, can't tell you due to data protection. It was a cracking show with Jim last week. If you want to get a bit of a tease about what happened, here's what happened on last week's edition of Business Connections Live. On today's show, we're going to be talking about something that's going to actually probably affect every business owner in the UK over the coming months. We're going to be talking about the new General Data Protection Regulation, that's called GDPR, which will come into force in May 2018. It's a bit of a minefield, this one, actually, but joining me in the studio today is Jim McLaughlin. He's the Managing Director of Axial, and Jim's a consultant going into businesses. And today we talk about GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations.
Well, what we're talking about is the General Data Protection Regulation. And as you said quite rightly, this is going to become law in this country for all UK businesses on the 25th of May 2018. What we'll talk about today is principally around the electronic side of it, but the regulations cover all use by businesses of data that relates to private individuals. This is legislation that was originally proposed by the EU in 2012. However, one of the main driving forces behind this, the implementation of this legislation, has been the UK Information Commissioner's Office. In fact, the Information Commissioner, Elizabeth Denman, said in a blog post that she wrote recently that she welcomes this legislation. What she specifically said was, "I see this as good news for the UK. One of the key drivers for data protection change is the importance and continuing evolution of the digital economy in the UK and around the world." I think data protection is an issue that is of increasing importance to virtually every citizen, to every thinking citizen. There can't be many people that haven't used Google or Facebook or given their information to a bank or to the NHS and wondered who has access to this information. What all companies will have to do is to ensure that they understand the detail of this legislation, what they're allowed to do with data and what they're not allowed to do with data, and they will all have to be able to demonstrate that they have processes in place to comply with the legislation. The key change is that until now we've been looking at a system that enables us to contact people and offer them information, typically by email. As long as we offer those people and the opportunity to opt out of receiving those communications, we would have to demonstrate, if the Information Commissioner's Office ever came to inquire, we would have to demonstrate that we had their recent consent. So it's not enough to say they signed up 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 4 years ago. We will have to have processes in place that every 6 months or every 12 months we go out and ask people to sign up again. Well, it certainly will have an impact on business, but of course what it's trying to do is to respond to people's concerns that they receive emails that they don't want to receive, that they receive phone calls that they don't want to receive, that they receive junk mail that they don't want to receive, and there is a torrent of information that reaches each of us. I'm Jim McLaughlin, I'm the Managing Director of Axial, and we're a business development company. We work with clients to help them find new customers and research their markets so they understand their markets better, and that's why we have a particular interest in this legislation. Now, Steve's invited me to give some closing points, and I have 3 closing points that I think are really important. The first one is, it's important to act early. Don't leave it until the last moment to ensure your business is compliant, because if you do that, you'll be in a rush of businesses that are contacting people and asking them to opt in, and you'll probably find that it's too late. And if you're not sure what to do, contact someone who can advise you. Where can you find out more information about this? There are a number of websites that contain simple explanations of what the law will mean and what its consequences are likely to be. I've prepared a list of some of the key sources which you can get by going to axial.uk.com. That's AXIALL. Or there'll be a link on the Business Connections Live webpage for today's programme. The final point is, the legal issues are only one half of the story. More important for businesses is to understand what actions they can take to prepare for the changes and to turn the potential risks into a significant opportunity to gain competitive advantage. To discuss this, you can contact me on jim@axial.uk.com, that's AXIALL, or you can reach me on the phone on 07799 076 980, that's 07799 076 980.
Jim McLaughlin there, Managing Director of Axial, talking about the General Data Protection Regulations which come into force in 2018. A really good show. If you get an opportunity, please do go to our website at businessconnectionslive.com. Over 200 hours of free business, so let me emphasize that, free business advice for you, so you can thoroughly enjoy. You know, the top speakers, the top business consultants all come on the program, and you can get their expert knowledge, their advice. You can get that insight, and we always lead you on to other things that they do, of course. And if you go to their webpage on the website, you get links to their website and also links to their book. That's all to come. By the way, if you want to get in touch with us here at Business Connections Live, it's dead easy. Just drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. the UK's leading online business channel, or you can give us a ring on the dog and bone, which is 01784 256 777. Follow our stream of consciousness on Twitter at BCL Business TV, or something that we're finding really, really powerful, and that is Facebook Live. I think the thing that what we've all got to do with Facebook Live is get our heads around the fact that, yes, Facebook love live content being streamed on their platform at the moment, but once you're streaming it, what do you do with it then? How do you turn that stream of consciousness, how do you turn it into a proper call to action? Do you do it in the text? Do you do it in your programming content? Or are you just doing it for vanity? If you're doing it for vanity, then that's fine. You know, Facebook's good for that. But as a business, should we be considering something a little bit more? And is it blatant calls to action, or is it subliminal calls to action, or is it just, you know, looking for more information? But as I said, we find Facebook Live really, really powerful. And if you're not using it in your business, then perhaps you should do. So do use that. You're watching Business Connections Live. Steve Hunter with you here, and my guest on today's show is Nikki Creel. She's the author of a brand new book that's just recently been published, Converting Conversations to Customers. Tell me about the book, Nikki. I know you said outside that you were, because you'd done the book on Twitter, which has been very successful, that you thought that by doing it, maybe look at, a lot of people consider LinkedIn to be the professional platform, the business platform, but that isn't what happened with this in the end, was it?
Basically, because I'd done a book on Twitter, I thought the next obvious step is to do a book on each of the other platforms. And I was writing the book on LinkedIn, and it didn't quite feel right.
What didn't feel right about it?
I just couldn't get excited about it. So, you know, so like, and I realised it was because I was talking about the platform rather than necessarily something that would help business owners.
So did that change the direction of the book, the emphasis of the book?
Yes.
So what was... So at one stage you were talking about how you effectively, so I would take it you would have gone through things like profiles and things like that, and the technology itself. But this doesn't come over as being technology-led, it comes over as being interaction-led.
Well, it's looking at, and the term is really social selling, so how to sell without being salesy, by using social media platforms as a way to engage with people. So with this one, I've actually concentrated on LinkedIn and Twitter as the main platforms. So when I've talked about personal branding, I've looked at how to do that. So this is why you need it, but also this is how to do it on LinkedIn and Twitter. That's what I've focused in on.
Well, let's look at the key chapters that are in the book. I mean, if you look at the actual contents, it is cram-packed. You probably won't be able to read that, but it's you know, how to attracting the right customer with content, how to discover potential customers through search, how to nurture, are they ready, and so on. I mean, it is fascinating. Let's look at the five core areas of that, shall we? Attract, discover, nurture, convert, and measure. Yeah. Now, a lot of people will forget the measure. People just don't do that. Everybody wants to do the attract. Everybody does. Yes. There's no two ways about it, because people see everything as just being numbers. It's all about numbers.
Well, attracting is the nice thing. And when I talk about attracting, it is about getting the right people to you, so that you get phone calls, you get emails from people who want to work with you because they've pre-qualified themselves. They've decided they want to work with you, and they've found you, and they think that you're the right person. So it just leaves working out whether they have a clear understanding of what you want, and maybe it's a pricing issue that might be there.
But the thing between the two platforms is that Twitter is somewhat passive to a certain extent. Once you sign up and you're on, let me finish. You tell me I'm wrong in a minute. Let me be wrong at the top of my voice at least. But I mean, when I say that, I mean, for instance, with LinkedIn, what you've got is that you've got a similar kind of reciprocal kind of arrangement. You know, you follow me, I follow you. But then there is, you can contact people in a more direct way, can't you, on LinkedIn than you can on Twitter? Yes, you can do direct messaging and things like that. But it just seems to me that LinkedIn is nearly a more proactive platform than Twitter is. Is that really wrong?
I'm not sure what you mean by that, because LinkedIn, most people use very, very passively. So
is that because they're using it badly?
Yeah, the bulk of people will set up a LinkedIn account, and I speak to thousands of people, like stand in front and I ask people what they're doing with LinkedIn. So the bulk of the way that people use LinkedIn is that they will set up a LinkedIn account. So because somebody said you need to be on LinkedIn, they might have spent a bit of time doing the profile, and then all they do is accept connections if somebody and connect with people they might have met, and that's about it that they do on LinkedIn. So most people are using LinkedIn very passively in terms of that way.
Well, listen,
Okay.
I'll whip myself down in that case then. I'll whip myself to a pub. So are people doing exactly the same with Twitter? Both platforms have been used by the majority quite passively.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. I think Twitter, we see people broadcasting but not actually connecting, or they ask the question, how do I build more followers? Whereas the thing is, how do I find the right people to follow would be a better question to ask. How do I find my customers on Twitter?
I mean, are we allowed to mention the two platforms in the same breath, nearly? Are they so different that really you've got to approach Twitter in one way and LinkedIn in another?
I think they work incredibly powerfully together, and that's why I've focused on the two, because some people will just concentrate on LinkedIn for business, and they'll ignore Twitter. But say for LinkedIn, your connecting etiquette, you have to go through a lot more loops, and it's a lot more to get somebody to connect with you, because it's a mutual connection. There's a certain etiquette that's involved with it, whereas on Twitter you can just find somebody's Twitter account and start tweeting with them. So it's really, really simple on Twitter versus it is in LinkedIn. But whereas LinkedIn, quite a lot of people see as a stodgy suit and tie type of platform, whereas Twitter is seen as very fickle and fast-moving, and that people can't see. Combined, they are very powerful together because you can find the information. LinkedIn is best for finding the right person. So it's a ginormous database. It's 450 million accounts plus on there that you can actually tap into because people have entered information in a very structured way. So you can find people, if you know what type of skills they might have, where they might be, the location. You can find people by the company they work for. So it's good for finding people. Twitter on the other side is great for finding conversations. So these are in real time people who are talking about things like services. They have a need and they'll be talking about it in real time, and it's very searchable. And
I suppose the other thing with Twitter is that a lot of people don't tend to use the hashtag searches, do they? So you can actually go out there and see who is talking about a particular topic, can't you?
Yeah, but it's not limited to hashtags. You can actually put in phrases and search for phrases. So is somebody asking this question? You can also sort of say, I only want people who are fairly close to me, and sort of do a location one. So that deletes tweets from other countries. So there's a lot more in search than most people do.
So what would you say then to people that have built up, they've collected their names on LinkedIn? Should they then be going through their list of people who they've linked in with? Should they then be going through their Twitter account and making certain that they are in conversation on Twitter as well? And if they are, is there an easy way of doing that, or is that just hard graft?
You do need to work, and I think where it works, quite often it's investment of your time, but making sure that you spending your time in the most profitable way for you. So if you're going to be spending time building relationships with people, you don't want to talk to 21,000 people, because nobody's going to do that and you'll automate it and it will mean nothing. What you want to do is say, who are the best people that I want to speak to, that are good for me to talk to, or people who are having the right conversations or asking for my services or my product that I'm selling. How do I find them? And once you've found them, start engaging and nurturing that relationship.
So that's the attract. So is it going back to what we talked about at the very beginning, your natural linguistic skills that you have in the way that you write, and it's the way you write that attracts people?
Okay, this is proactively discovering conversations and people that might be beneficial to you.
Can you give me an example of that?
Okay. So, for example, if you were...
Have you got a real life example, something that's happened to you?
In terms of me searching for something?
Well, when it's all come together like that, where you know, LinkedIn, supported by Twitter, follow them on a conversation, and for that then realise into a potential contact.
Yeah, well, quite often, in fact, I get a lot of leads coming in through LinkedIn, and quite often when I have conversations with them, they've actually been following me for a while on Twitter. So they found me on Twitter and then connected with me on LinkedIn.
So they're actually being as proactive as you are.
Yeah. So I mean, I get a lot of business through LinkedIn contacts, as well as I get direct messages on Twitter as well. For business, which is great when people come to you, but that's part of the attracting, because I've built up a personal brand and I'm putting out content which will attract people to me. But obviously I can be proactive and say I want to find small businesses who are local to my town, and then look and see who I'm connected to and proactively go and connect with those people. Or you might say I'm after mums. So you might go and find like Mumsnet or something and have a look at the people who are in that audience, if you were, say, selling something for children. Or you might say, okay, what age for parents, you know, what age, or what is it that I want to sell, or what am I...
Well, it's interesting you say that, so what you're saying is that Mumsnet would be the place you would start if you were looking for mums, maybe not LinkedIn, but the techniques and the style and the process you're going through is very similar.
So let's say I wanted to find mums. Do you want, if I wanted to find, if I was selling a product that was suitable maybe for toddlers, I would then, how I would approach that is I would look on Twitter for the type of Twitter accounts that would attract those type of parents. And then I would look at who's following them and go through their profiles. A lot of people will have the word mums or about their children in their bios. So you can tell that's their age. But if you have something specifically for toddlers that would appeal to them, I would find the people whose accounts are talking about that, and then I would follow their followers.
I suppose what we've talked about there is attract and discover to a certain extent, isn't it? So that's what we've done so far, the attract and the discover part. Nurture, convert and measure, I suppose, are the things when we start to realise exactly what we've now accomplished. And how do you measure that? How do you go through that? How do you accomplish that? I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about at the moment. If you're... I mean, there's a lot of people out there that perhaps are getting ever so slightly jaded now with this constant bombardment of, you know, you should be really using social media within your business a lot more. But there is no escaping the fact that those people that do use it properly, it does actually work for. Listen, we've got more with Nikki Creel, social media consultant, trainer and author on this edition of Business Connections Live to come in just a few minutes' time. I always find it really nice. I think the danger is that when the pair of us are together, because we do know each other, because it's 8 times you've been here. It does.
8 times?
There is always it's 6 times. I'm sure of it. There is this feeling of familiarity, which is lovely actually, and makes it enjoyable. But it does allow us as well, I think, to sometimes to ask questions and to drill down just a little bit further, because knowing you well enough now to actually to challenge what you say and not be hit is always a good thing. Nikki Creel, as I said, is the guest of today's show. Crispin Manners joined us on the programme a little while back. This is really important. He's the chairman and managing director of the Employee Engagement Alliance and Communications, and they convert, it says here, that convert to value. When entrepreneurs start a business, they're usually passionate about what they do, and they have a firm belief that it will add value to customers. Sadly, says Christian, many business leaders find it hard to convey the value in a way that makes it easier to sell. Now, on this edition of Business Connections Live, we discuss less is more and the rewards of keeping things very simple. Great show, actually. He was a fascinating bloke. The whole show actually also kind of bordered into employee comms as well. It was a cracking programme. If you haven't seen it, may I suggest you go to businessconnectionslive.com and take a bit of a gander. It's apparently, I've just been told in my ear, thank you very much, Programme 118. There's over 200 hours of free business advice. If you just want to get a bit of a taste for what Crispin was talking about, have a look at this from the edition of Business Connections Live.
I'm Crispin Manners. I'm from Onva Consulting. Three things I think that small businesses in particular could take away is, number one, work out who you've got the best chance of satisfying and target those people. A lot of mistakes people make are to try and chase too many different types of customers and succeed less with ones where they're just not going to win. Second point is ask your customers what it is that you do well and use their own words in selling what you do back to people who've not met you yet. And the third and final one, I think, which applies both to employees and customers, is the most assured way of growing at less cost is through referral and recommendation. If you're not talking to your customers, you won't know who loves you enough to recommend you, and you won't be able to ask them to do it for you. So find out who loves you with a simple tool like Net Promoter, which you can use free for yourself, and then go and ask those people to promote you to everyone that they know and create opportunities for them to do it.
Great show, actually. Crispin Manners there as well. Here we go, as you heard me saying, Chairman and Managing Director of the Employee Engagement Alliance, showing that communications that convert and are valuable as well. Do check out the entire program. By the way, if you like a program just like this one, why don't you give us a call? We can always have a bit of a chat about maybe producing a program. If you're having an issue at the moment talking to your employees, your workforce, or even your customers, I mean, there's something ridiculous. A lot of the video production companies will say that every picture, a video is worth 1.5 million words or something ridiculous like that, isn't it? But it's true, because you are painting pictures. I can say more in a minute than I can ever do in a paragraph of text. And that's what's so important about using video, but using it intelligently. Nikki kind of alluded as well a little while back there, you know, proposition, resolution, call to action. We just don't do that. We are not programmed to do that, yet we are fed with media that does that to us every day. The headlines on the news, they will do, you know, the proposition, here's the headline, the resolution, there's the story, and the call to action. The newspapers with their headlines and everything like that, the television news, everybody is actually all the time bombarding us with that technique, yet in business we ignore it. Why it's right for everybody else, we're just not going to use it in our business. So proposition, resolution, and then call to action, use that throughout all your videos. And honestly, if you'd like to have a program like this and where you can do that and talk to your employees effectively, turn them from readers into viewers, then why don't you get in touch with us here? I'll give you the details right now. In fact, it is studio@businessconnectionslive.com. You can have a chat with us on the Dog and Bone, ask for myself, all in the Basant, 01784 256 777. You can follow our stream of consciousness and have a conversation with us if you wish. DM us at BCL Business TV. And don't forget our Facebook as well. Watch the program on Facebook and leave your reaction and also your feedback as well. I don't think we're probably doing the call to action on Facebook yet. I think we're establishing at the moment, we are making ourselves discoverable, but I don't think we have our clear call to action. But that's to come, because we're aware of it. And if you are just pumping stuff out on Facebook or on any of the social media that's got no actual point to it, then just stop for a moment and see, how can I change even the linguistics, the way I say things? If I change it from that to this, or the voice that it's in from I to you, you could have a big impact. So just a few thoughts for you there. You're watching Business Connections Live. Lovely to have you with us today. Nikki Creel, social media consultant, trainer and author, is my guest today. She always has a great grin when she's here. I love having Nikki on the programme. This is her brand new book. You may well have read her previous book. It was all about Twitter. This is the new one. It looks at Twitter, it looks at LinkedIn, but it also gives fundamental rules to the way that you should be using really any social media platform. And it's divided into 5 clear sections which will lead you through the process. The nice thing when I read the book is it's a doer book, isn't it? It's not the previous book, the Twitter book, was you would sit down and go, oh, I'm going to read a book about Twitter now. I'll let you talk in a minute. And you would start from the beginning and you would go to the end, and that would be your book on. But that isn't how you've written this, is it? It's a doing book. Was that intentional?
Well, I think people need to take action. So there's no point in just reading a book and go, oh, that was nice. And often actually what happens with Twitter is that they read my Twitter, How to Twitter for Business Success. They read it quickly and then go back and put lots of pencil marks and post-it notes in it. So this book is actually encouraging people to take action.
Yeah. And the other thing about it too, this will fascinate you, it's quite a thick book. And it really does have, it's not all double spaced or everything. It is crammed, packed. It's loads of great information in there that you can truly use. I mean, okay, you won't be an expert, or maybe you would be an expert once you've read this.
I would hope that people could take action and improve their sales. That's the point of the book, is actually for people to get more business.
We like that, don't we? People taking action. Now, we've kicked off, we looked at attracting and also discovery as well. So nurture, people find that really hard. Do you think that we naturally nurture relationships?
I think it's very easy to connect with people, and especially on LinkedIn or Twitter, you follow somebody, they follow you back, and then that's it, end of, sort of like end of things, or you have connections on LinkedIn. But you need to nurture relationships, because not everybody you meet will be ready to buy from you. Not everybody you meet will actually ever buy from you, but they might recommend you to somebody else if you can stay top of mind. It's like if you were to go on a date with somebody, would you ask them for marriage on the first date?
I don't know, but would you marry me? Too late, you missed your chance.
Our chance for the first date. Quite often, you need to know somebody. There's the know, like and trust factor, and you need to build up a level of trust and rapport with people before you'll actually consider doing business with them. So it's important, once you're connected with people, to nurture that relationship until people are ready to buy or ready to recommend you to somebody else, or you might have developed some friendships.
I'm Mr. Thickie then, and I come to you and I go, I've done the connections, I'm trying to engage with people at the moment. I'm finding the nurturing very, very difficult. Yeah. Because some people just don't naturally nurture, do they? And it's, you're saying about you're building trust. And and that for some people is quite difficult to do. Where do you start with building trust?
Okay, people will, the more times you're exposed to somebody, the more likable they'll be. So even with some subjects, there's been quite a lot of research that people just being exposed to somebody. Obviously, there's certain people that you probably hate them more. Just thinking of politics.
The more you get exposed, the more you hate them.
Yeah. So that's a Marmite thing, but at least people remember certain people. But just by being exposed to people on an ongoing basis, they become familiar to you. So there's part of nurturing would be staying top of mind. So that, and often it's those tiny little gestures. So if you were dating somebody, you could do the extravagant things, but quite often when people say the most romantic moments are actually the tiny little details that people do, the simple things that people do, and on an ongoing basis.
Now, I'm going to ask you for an example that you have used.
What of dating?
Not about dating, so forget dating.
So, okay, practically, sort of what I mean by this
so
is...
in your business, you're growing your business.
Yeah.
So how would you define your business right now? The service you offer is social media consultancy, isn't it?
Consultancy and training.
All right, so how do you at that particular, how would you nurture somebody? Is it that you would go, have you tried this? Is it giving little bits of information that are helpful?
It's in effect, most small businesses don't use CRM systems, which are customer relation management software, to help you do it. So on something like Twitter or LinkedIn, it's possible to be connected to a large number of people, but not to have a relationship with people. So it's like my first step would be make sure that you're connected with your existing customers, because they are your priority. You're going to get far more value from people that you're connected with already, that have done business with you. They're far likely to spend more money and be more loyal, and you'll get more business from them.
So
and
the most
quite
valuable
often,
database, the most valuable list is your existing customers.
Yeah. So you want to make sure that you're connected with them on social media. So that you can nurture those relationships, so that you can stay top of mind. So it's not like in a year after you've last done some business, you go, hey, I've got another product I want to sell to you. Because otherwise they go, well, what's happened in between? It's like, it's like it becomes, even though they've done business with you, if all you're going to do when you approach them is to sell to them.
Isn't there a formula, isn't there? It's 3 times telling, just sounds like a spell, 3 times telling, 2 times this, and then 1 time sell. There is a ratio, isn't there, that people say is acceptable in CRM?
In terms of CRM, I think, it's those touch points, and quite a lot of touch points can occur on social media. So, for example, on LinkedIn or Twitter, just by liking somebody's post or adding a comment, this is on LinkedIn, sharing something of theirs, you're building a relationship with people. On LinkedIn, you can give somebody an endorsement for a skill. You can give them a testimonial or recommendation on LinkedIn, completely unasked for, which will remind them that you're there. There's lots of little ways you can take it. On Twitter, you might retweet something that they've said. You might simply like it. You might talk to them. And what the joy of Twitter is, it's like 140 characters. Most people can fill it. It's 1 sentence. And you've reminded people. You could have a list of people, and I know I'm on.
You can engage with somebody and nurture them.
So
for the stupid, nearly, isn't it? I mean, but I'm not being funny, but 1 sentence, a considered 1 sentence, is maybe better than.
And it might just be, I hope you're having a nice time, or great what a great picture from your holiday. Something as simple as that just reminds them that you're there, and you're not selling. You're just building a relationship.
So we're nurturing.
Yeah. So
now here's the nitty gritty one, converting.
Yeah. Well, one thing I would like to mention as well is Twitter lists is actually putting people into lists of people, lists, so you can focus on certain groups of people, because you cannot concentrate on large numbers of people. So if you found the right people using LinkedIn and Twitter that you want to engage with, by putting them on a list. And LinkedIn's actually got a built-in CRM system, a little simple one, so you can actually put reminders to contact people, and you can make notes about people within LinkedIn itself. But by putting somebody on a list, it means you pay more attention to them, and you can keep on talking to them.
Do you think it's better to do that across the board when you're doing it, that you do have small dedicated focus lists of target prospects? Are they prospect? Is that the wrong word?
I don't like the term.
Engaged. It's the wrong word, isn't it?
Well, prospect just sounds a bit hard, because
isn't that the reality though?
The suspects, prospects.
A suspect.
I know that's what
the guilty.
That's sales speak. But if you see somebody as a potential customer, somebody that you'd like to work with, then it's worth spending a bit of time building up a relationship. So it might be once a week. You go and connect with them, or tweet to them, or once a month you send them a little message on LinkedIn, and it might be giving something of value if there's something that you've read that you think would interest them. And if you're only concentrating on a small number of people, that's easy to do. If you're trying to have like 1,000 people or 100 or 200, that's going to be harder. But if you've actually worked out exactly who you want to talk to, it's easier to focus on those people and build up proper relationships. But coming onto that, if you've been chatting for a while on social media, at some point you need to take that online conversation offline. And it predominantly is offline that you're going to take it. So you need to take it to the next step and the next level. And
this is the bit that most people find the hardest, don't they? They collect names, they collect positions, they collect emails, they collect everything, and then do absolutely nothing with it. So what do you do? So what are they frightened of? What are we frightened of?
I think the nice thing about social media, and this is what I really love it, if you've been having conversations with people and you've got a relationship with people, they don't feel you're not doing a cold call with somebody, because you actually know they know who you are, you know who they are. You don't know everything about them, obviously, but it's not a cold call. It's not like somebody completely out of the blue ringing you up and trying to...
It's strange you say that, because as you were talking then, a name came into my head, and I'm sure you know him, Angus Grady. Are you familiar with Angus?
Yeah.
Angus Grady is not shy about picking the phone up, is he?
Yeah.
And that's a really good skill, I think. It's the fact that, you know, you're picking the phone up and you are actually doing something
Just
about what
because a
you've got.
conversation started on social media doesn't mean that you shouldn't pick up the phone or have a Skype call or meet face-to-face for coffee, because a lot of sales, that's where that happens. So
how often, briefly, 5 seconds, how often does that happen to you in a week, that you actually do that conversion yourself?
I tend to, hands up, be more reacting to stuff that's going in and going on. But I do contact people on my Twitter, you know, through Twitter, and talk to people.
I know you're very proactive on Twitter, and you do feel, and I think that's the whole nice thing about it. I suppose we got to know you through Twitter, which is the really nice thing. It just goes to show you that, you know, social media, the clue is in the name, isn't it? The clue is in the name of social, and it is all about that social interaction. I hope you find today that the book is a fascinating read. It is a doer's book, by the way. Nikki Creel is my guest on today's show. She's a social media consultant, trainer, and also author. Brand new book called Converting Conversations to Customers, available at your local bookstore right now. Well, here we are then, another Monday. We're nearly at the end of the show. We've just got a little bit more to go. But if you're impressed by Nikki's skill, she has, it's because she will go to the opening of an envelope, and if there is a microphone there she'll be being interviewed. If there's a camera there, you'll be on camera, won't you? But you do engage with all forms of media, don't you?
Yeah, I like it. I think the thing is, so if you keep things offline, not that many people can see you. You have one-to-one relationships.
I mean, so, I'd like to think that we're friends.
Yes.
So it just goes to show you, maybe up to that point we were.
I know. I was going to say.
So it's a bit rocky. It's a bit dodgy now. But that's the thing about it. And you see, the thing is, if somebody pushes a microphone under Nikki's nose or a camera into her face, she knows what she's going to say. She knows what her priorities are. She knows what she is going to get over. She knows the line. She knows that maybe this particular occasion, the best time to promote the book, to talk about her experiences, or the Twitter book, or to promote her consultancy, or all those different things. She knows, and therefore uses it as a tool. But the question you've got to ask yourself is, if someone did that to you, would you be in a position to actually be able to promote and market your business, to encourage people to connect with you on Twitter, to find you on LinkedIn because you were so engaging? Would you have the necessary skills to do that? It's a question everybody should ask themselves. Now, if you feel you don't, but you would like to, then we do, this is the pitch now, we do a one-day media training course on how to handle the media. You come in, it's a workshop. You can either come in individually or with a group of other people. James Griffin from Iris Software, he brought his team in, and here's what he said about coming on our How to Handle the Media training course.
I'm James Griffin from Iris Software, and my team have just completed the How to Handle the Media workshop. It was a really great course, it was really fun, and it was a really unique way for them to polish their presentation skills and learn how to answer difficult questions under pressure. So I'd highly recommend this to anybody that values those skills and really wants a great day out with their team.
The whole day is customised to your business, to your organisation. You send us press releases, and then what we will do, we will teach techniques and skills that you need to handle the media. We will grill you and try to catch you out and give you a damn good beating, but you'll love it. It's a great day. It's a lot of fun, and you learn a lot about how to handle the media. We have seen some huge mistakes recently, both politically and in business, on things you should not say. You should always be prepared. So if you want more details about that, here's how you go about it. You can drop us an email to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. You can have a word with us to see if it's going to be suitable for you by giving us a ring on 01 784 256 777, or if you want, why not send us a DM on our Twitter at BCL Business TV, and don't forget you can always follow us on Facebook as well. You can leave comments and feedback there, or once again you can contact us via Facebook. We are available right across all the different social platforms as well as all the other media distribution routes, so everything from Roku. We're on Roku. If you've got a Roku thing that sticks in your telly, you can watch us on Roku. Of course you can watch us on Google Chrome. That's easy because we're on YouTube. You can watch us, you can listen to us on Blueberry, Stitcher. It just goes, the list just goes on and on. Doesn't matter where we are, you can actually watch or listen to us. And don't forget, do download us on iTunes. And if you like, have you left a review yet on iTunes?
No, because I'm not on iTunes, sorry.
Well, how very dare you.
But I do share your I do share.
Listen, if you're unlike Nikki and you are on iTunes, leave a review of the programme. It's that easy. Just go onto the website, click on the view it in iTunes. There you go. Just click on there. You'll see all the programmes all listed. Then it'll take you up to this part of the page, ratings and reviews. Click on that there. There you go. And then just click on the write a review. Say something glowing like, I love Nikki Creel, and then I'll give her 5 stars any day. And that'll just really help. If you do that on iTunes, then it will encourage other people to download the programme, and it also helps us bring the programme to you on a weekly basis. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Nikki Creel, social media consultant, trainer and author of this brand new book here, Converting Conversations for Conversations to Customers. It is such a good book. And I noticed on your Pinterest page, is it? Or Instagram page, that there are pictures all over the place. Let me just move it onto a picture where we can actually see the book. There is this tradition now that's going around where your readers will actually take a copy of the book. So we've got a lady here. Who's this lady?
This is Andrea Vall, who's actually one of my contributors. So she's based in America, and she runs a social media managers school and a contributor for Facebook for Dummies. Okay, so,
and if there's some blackberries, there's some sunshine. There's a man in the stocks, and he should be. Just very quickly, his name is?
Tom Evans.
Tom Evans there. And you encourage people to, there you are with the book, you encourage people to take your book and take pictures of it around the world, don't you? I'm just looking for who's this?
That's Shelley. She's one of my my Kickstarter backers. So I run a crowdfunding for it, and there are a number of people who actually supported it that way.
The one I wanted to find, so just let me find the one I wanted. There it is, because that's it. That's your book outside of Buckingham Palace, isn't it?
Yes.
Are you allowed to do that?
Well, Karen Skidmore did. So
it's not your fault then?
No, I've had interesting pictures taken all over the place, and it's great fun to see where the book will turn up.
She was dragged away kicking and screaming to a police station near Buckingham Palace on the day of that. Off with her head, said the Queen. Lovely. All right then, so attract, discover, nurture, convert. Now, if we never convert, most companies never, ever measure. How do you figure out if you're being successful at all of this? How does measurement work?
Ultimately, whatever you do on social media needs to affect your bottom line. Because if you're spending all day chatting and having conversations and it's not actually leading to business, then you may be wasting your time. Or you may be broadcasting, so you've put content out there and it spews out and it's not generating business, so you go, well, social media doesn't work. Ultimately, you need to have more business coming to you. So that might be traffic to your website, it might be phone calls in, it might be emails, it might be direct messages on a social media platform. That's what counts for business. That's what it's
very interesting.
Yeah.
We did a radio campaign for a large multinational, and it was for a specific function. but the umbrella effect would have meant that there would have been an increase in people going to their website to find out more about the organisation.
Yeah.
And that was not measured. And I suppose that's what we're talking about. It's everything we do is marketing, and marketing is everything, I suppose, isn't it?
Quite often people concentrate on the vanity metrics, which would be how many followers or how many likes or how many sort of like connections you got. They're vanity metrics. Somebody who's followed you on Twitter or connected with you on LinkedIn is not necessarily a customer. They're just somebody who's connected. It's a potential to build a relationship. But you need to actually measure, and in fact Ben Chai, who I know was one of your
a couple of weeks back,
he's one of my contributors. So
he's in the book, isn't he?
He's worked out how to work out the value of your customers, because quite often people don't know. You invoice people and you don't actually sit down and go, what is the value of my customer? Which customer is actually bringing me the most money, and how do I find people who are like that, so I can get more of customers that are higher value?
You sometimes hear about organisations being absolutely ruthless, don't they, where they say it would be better to get rid of those 3 clients and concentrate on those 2 big ones or whatever. I will make more money by doing that.
Yeah,
you do hear that occasionally.
Yeah, I think, but if you don't measure that and basic working out the value, how can you make that type of judgment, or how can you assess how valuable people are? Because sometimes somebody will have spent a small amount with you over a period of time, so they're just buying little bits from you here and there, and you don't actually notice it because they're smaller. It's not like the big juicy amount that comes in, so you probably undervalue that customer. But it's when you sit down and go, okay, over the last few years, which customers have brought in the most money or most profitable business?
Could well be them.
And sorry, and it might be them. Yeah.
Don't need to be sorry.
So that's the first thing, is actually having a value, being able to put a value. And the next thing is you need to track. And a lot of people, small business owners, do not measure enough.
Are there any tools or techniques that you could use to help you do this?
Well, some of it. I mean, I encourage people to try out various CRM systems as a way of relating it. But if you have, say, software like Sage or Xero, you can actually have things that fit in with them, so you can build it in, so you can measure the effect of talking to people on different platforms and actually how much value that they're adding. So
when
the value of the relationship.
I keep bringing it back to you,
Yeah.
and I do apologise for that. But when you have measured, have you been surprised at times when you've measured who has been responsive and who isn't?
Yeah.
And what your customers are doing and who your primary customers are? Has it surprised you?
Yeah, I think sometimes you forget about the people who've been consistent and have consistently bought different things from you, because I've had people who've attended all my workshops that I've run, and who've also, they're the same people who have bought my books, both books, they will be there, and even if they're not necessarily spending as much money, they will also be supporting me and talking about me. So they're cheerleaders as well. So they are incredibly valuable for me to have. But I think it's so easy when you're doing, well, for most small businesses, is that you're not measuring things enough. And a lot of people may have Google Analytics, but you might not be measuring the impact of social media and measuring that, what impact it has, and you can
this
set
is nearly
goals.
the classic all the gear and no idea, isn't it? They've got all the tools there, but they're just not actually using them or analysing them.
But I'm still, so many businesses do not have Google Analytics installed, so there's no way of measuring what traffic it's driving to the website.
Listen, it is a fascinating book. If you get an opportunity, please do try and get hold of a copy, Converting Conversions to Customers, from Nikki Creel. In 2 minutes, the book's a crowd-funded book.
Yeah.
The trials and tribulations of bringing the book to market, before you give us the key takeaways. But, this is, you're getting good at this now. But how long did it take to write?
I spent probably over 2 years writing the content. Obviously, I didn't sit and write most of the time. Sometimes it's a book in progress and you're actually doing other things than physically putting words on paper.
What about funding it? How did you go about funding it?
I looked at doing a traditional publisher, but the questions they asked me, I had this feeling that I wouldn't be able to write the book that I really wanted to write. And I wanted to have a book that adds value to people, for small businesses. And I've written this for micro businesses, so 9 employees or less. So specifically in mind for small businesses don't have a big budget. So I looked at traditional publishing, and I decided against it because also with social media, for traditional publishing, you have to hand in your book months and months and months before it actually comes out. Whereas with social media, it changes so dramatically. I wanted to have more control of that, and I wanted to be able to edit it, when I wanted, and also to have the book that it became organically, rather than a book that I might have put in the book proposal months and months before.
Well, I can tell you right now, it's a fantastic read. Stop doing, start doing, continue to do. Converting conversations to customers, the essential guide to social media sales success. You'll hear that a lot. There are a lot of people out there that tell you social media can be turned into sales. Read this book. I know that sounds like an endorsement. I've read it. It's interesting and exciting read. Well, not exciting. Maybe exciting's too strong. But it's an interesting read. It's an interesting read. Nikki, we always ask our guests to look down camera number 1 and to say who they are and where they're from, and the key takeaways that we need to remember when it comes to converting conversations to customers. So, Nikki, I'll bring that down. The airwaves are all yours.
Hi, I'm Nikki Creel, social media coach, trainer, and author of How to. I was going to say, I'm so used to saying my How to Twitter for Business Success. Converting conversations to customers. I really think it's important to build one-to-one relationships with people, and don't forget that human relationships are where your business is, and it's forming that bond. And what I really like people to do is to work out show people how to do it using social media as a tool. So that they can actually grow their business through building relationships that are profitable.
Do you feel, fantastic, do you feel this book complements that was very good, complements the Twitter book?
Well, the Twitter book I wrote, I'm going
to ask the team, can we get the Twitter book in here? Yeah.
The Twitter book I wrote about 3.5 years ago, so it does need a bit of updating, but the idea is there. But I really wanted to focus in on the selling part of it, because it's all great having conversations. You actually want to get business from social media, because otherwise you're just wasting your time.
If people want to connect with you or go to your website, the website is?
NikkiCreel.com. It's NICKYKRIEL, and you'll find me at Nikki Creel almost everywhere. So I don't mind.
Just put Nikki Creel in and you'll find you, won't you? Because you are absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, as I've taken it home, so we can't bring it. I've been reading your other book as well. Oh, we found one, have we? Here it comes. So I just wanted to show both the books. Listen, I hope you've been found today. Just slide it across the table, Lynn. Thanks a lot. There we go. How smooth that could be, eh? There we are, all the way from the offices downstairs, a suite of offices downstairs. So the 2 books that we've got here, this is the original book, How to Twitter for Business Success. That's the original book. And this is the latest book here, Converting Conversations to Customers, the Essential Guide to Social Media Sales Success. Listen, Nikki, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the programme. And I think a lot of us will listen to you, and a lot of people, 99% of all people, will do nothing with that information. But that 1% of people are the ones who are going to make their businesses successful on the back of social media. And maybe even if we can just bring that up to 2%, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Listen, don't miss out on this, because this is an opportunity. It's there, it's usable, and it can be done. You know, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Twitter, you've got all these different platforms. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. From Nikki Creel and myself, Steve Hyland, thank you very much indeed for watching. Now let's do a little bit of the old housekeeping. That was a great show. Well, most of it was anyway. The bits that I was in were great. Listen, it's lovely. Let's just do a little bit of our housekeeping for you. Coming up, future programmes, Penny Power, founder, CEO, The Business Cafe. You know Penny, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And you're involved at The Business Cafe.
Yes, yeah.
In a sentence, what's that all about then?
In a sentence, the Business Cafe is about having an offline place for small businesses to meet. So it is providing a venue for people to meet, almost like a private business club, but without paying for it.
You must have had to speak, haven't you? Yes.
And then, but also helping people with some digital skills as well. So while you're there, you can actually learn how to download something or how to use software that you might have on your phone. So there will be that added benefit that nobody else is offering.
So there we go. So Penny Powers going to be coming in. Mark Werrell from Motorsport, Sylvia Bulldog will be joining us again on the programme. Deborah Hume will be here. Ali Crump from A Drive Tech, lots of companies there from motoring organisations. Polly Buckland from the Typeface Group. Jackie Jarvis. James Potter, the LinkedIn man, he'll be popping in to see us. Do you know James?
No, I haven't met him yet.
Right, you will at Christmas. Tom Evans, author of Practical Mindfulness. And on next week's show, Antonio Falco, specialist in sales and business development. Must be time to roll those credits. I think it is. Listen, once again, thank you so much for coming in. I love having you on the program because it's a lot of fun. Don't forget How to Twitter and also Converting Conversations to Customers. I'm sounding like I'm plugging them, but they are really, really good books. Till we do it all again next week, take care for yourself and good business. Bye for now. Bye-bye.